snorkeling in the Columbia River, looking for spawning fall Chinook salmon. Let's do this. The king salmon have traveled 400 miles from the ocean to get here. They have been living in the Pacific Ocean around Alaska for the last 2 to 5 years. The river water is starting to get cold and it's time for the fish to start spawning. We are snorkeling in just 5 to 10 feet of water. This is a good location for the salmon to spawn for 2 reasons. One, the water is moving fast enough to keep oxygen in it. And 2, there are smaller rocks and gravel on this riverbed that the fish can move with their tails to create their nests. We are swimming with both wild and hatchery Chinook. The hatchery Chinook have their second dorsal fin or adipose fin clipped as young fish and it heals over. The wild Chinook always have their adipose fin intact. There are also some curious white sturgeon in the area who are looking for a tasty salmon caviar snack. There are pretty distinct differences between the males and the females. The male buck salmon is usually dark red with a tall body. The female hen salmon are typically skinnier. They're usually a bit grayish and they always have a white underside. The hen will dig a shallow depression in the river bottom with her tail. Then she'll lay up to 5,000 eggs. The buck will come along and deposit his milt. After that, the female will cover the eggs with pebbles, and this will be a nest. It's called a redd, and a group of salmon will guard this redd from bottom scavengers like the sturgeon. Typically, there are 1 to 3 female salmon in the front of the redd, and there's a few larger males behind her. The bucks develop an elongated kite jaw and teeth, and they use this to ward off competing males and other fish, always in competition. The sturgeon live here in the river year-round, typically in the deeper water. They swim up to the shallows in the fall to dine on the salmon eggs. The white sturgeon is North America's largest fish. They're typically 5 to 10 feet long. The sturgeon can grow their whole life and live up to 100 years. So some older sturgeon can get up to 20 feet long and 1,800 pounds. Wow, look at how big this sturgeon is. He's kind of curious too. How old do you think he is? Sturgeon haven't evolved much in the last several 100 million years and are basically dinosaurs. They are built from cartilage like a shark. Their body is covered with large bony plates instead of scales. There is a healthy population of sturgeon in the Columbia River. Some of these fish have bright white areas. This is where they're already rotting. They're basically like living zombies at this point. Sadly, the salmon die a few weeks after they spawn. What a life. Spawn one season, then die. The good news is that when the adults die, their decaying bodies leave nutrients brought from the ocean into the river. Remember, we are 400 miles from the ocean. The salmon are the only way the essential ocean nutrients can reach other plants and animals in this area. King salmon up to 125 pounds used to come back up the Columbia River. Now most are 10 to 20 pounds, and very rarely you might see a fish up to 50 pounds. But wait, this guy's pretty big. The fish in the front is maybe 15 or 18 pounds, but look at the fish behind him. He's longer and much taller. Look how much bigger his fins are. How big do you think this fish is? The salmon eggs will hatch in 2 to 3 months. In the spring, the fry will emerge from the rocks. The young salmon will live in the fresh water for 3 years before they smolt and migrate down the river to the ocean. Then they grow into adults in the seawater. The adult salmon will come back from the ocean in 2 to 5 years. Amazingly, the salmon find their way back to the exact same location in the river to spawn. Scientists believe they do this using smell, the Earth's magnetism, and even the stars. But no one knows for sure. He's using his vacuum mouth to snack on whatever's in the gravel here. Look at all these salmon right over their nest with this sturgeon strategically waiting for any loose eggs. These large-scale suckers also like salmon roe. Unfortunately, the Columbia River Chinook population remains at a high risk due to the low numbers of naturally spawning fish. Fortunately, in this area, it looks like a pretty natural spawn of Chinook salmon. The Columbia River Basin once produced between 10 and 16 million salmon annually. These days, annual salmon production in the Columbia Basin is around 1 million. This is only 10% of what it once was, and this number includes the hatchery fish programs. We hope the salmon populations can rebound for future generations and for the health of the earth. If you saw something in this video that you liked, you had a question, you disagree with something, or I left something out, please leave a comment.